So in our previous video, we set up the variables and wrote two functions, one for our sum and one for our average. We can see we just finished at the end of that video displaying our average. Uh, Now what we need to do is set up another function. So I'm going to come here, and this function is going to display our data list. So we're going to display in this function, and what are we going to display? We're going to display our data list. Now, we can simply come up here. I can duplicate because I'm going to want a variable here, and I'm going to set my global display list. So that's a variable I set up, and we're going to create an empty list off of that, and I can go here. Now what we're going to do from there is come to our control structure, and for what we want is for each number here, and we're going to index this here. So we're going to drop this block in, and we're going to say this is what we're going to create our index from. So for the first one, and then we're going to get rid of this math block here, and we're going to go for the length of this list. So I'm going to duplicate from here, and the length of the list that I want is my entry months. And then I'm going to go from 1 to the length of the list, and I'm going to index this by 1. And I'm going to add items to my list from this. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to add items to my list, and the list that I want to add from, if I duplicate here, is my display list. Now, I'm going to grab my join block. So again, this is where I'm displaying everything. I'm going to select the items from my list. So I'm going to come back up to here and go select items from list. Here we go. I'm going to go there. And what I'm going to do is, the first one I'm going to do is my global entry months. And I'm going to get my index variable. So again, that index variable is going to proceed or increase by 1 as I have more entries. What that's going to do then is separate our data based on that, and then we can go on from there. Now, I've displayed my months, but what I also need to display is my amount. So I'm going to click join here. I'm going to add two more onto my string down here. So what I want to do is just duplicate this. Oh, and I added one extra one here. And the reason I have that extra space in there is just to give space on the display itself. So I'm going to go to my global entry amounts. And again, I'm going to get that same index. So I'm proceeding from 1 on the line. And then when it indexes by 1, we go to 2, and we can bring that data together. And I'm going to go to my data label. So my list view right here. And I'm going to set my list view to display then my variable which we created, which is my display list, which we can see here. We're creating that empty list, and then we're adding to it our entries for our months and our amounts that we keep track of, and then we're going to display it in our list view down here like we saw in that first video. So this will conclude the function portion of this app. In the next videos, we'll talk about how to program the user data.